Madam Vice Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to present Gail Asper. Born in Winnipeg, Gail received her BA and LLB from University of Manitoba. She then moved to East Coast to practice corporate and commercial law before becoming corporate secretary and legal counsel for Canwest Global Communications, and later a member of boards of Canwest Global Communications Corporation and Great West Life Co. Inc. A distinguished lawyer, having practiced across our nation, Gail has been a role model not only for women, but for all who aspire to careers in law and corporate governance. It is beyond this successful career, Gail's extraordinary work as a volunteer, which has garnered much recognition and many awards. She has, for example, chaired the Royal Manitoba Theatre Centre Endowment and Capital Campaign, presided over the board of Royal Manitoba Theatre Centre, chaired the Winnipeg United Way campaign, and been president of the board. She's chair of the board of directors of the National Arts Centre Foundation and is a governor of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. After leading the efforts to establish the Canadian Museum for Human Rights, she was appointed to the inaugural board of the Canadian Museum of Human Rights and is national campaign chair for museum's private sector campaign. As president and trustee of the Asper Foundation, she's a strong and wise benefactor and a patron of the arts, culture, and innovative projects with global impact. Her extraordinary generosity and dedication have been recognized by the Order of Canada, the Order of Manitoba, the Ramon John Hnatyshyn Award for Voluntarism in Performing Art, the YMCA Women of Distinction Award, the Jane Jacob Lifetime Achievement Award, the Canadian Bar Association's President Award, the Boway Award for Business for the Arts, the Canadian Red Cross Humanitarian of the Year Award, and honorary degrees from the University of Manitoba and the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Madam Vice Chancellor, you will agree that this list is most impressive, but incomplete. In recognition of her humanitarian work, advocacy for human rights, leading volunteer services to the community, I request that you complete this list of well-deserved honors by conferring the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, upon Gail Asper.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Faculty Senate and the Board of Governors, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereto pertaining. Congratulations, Dr. Asper.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Madam Vice Chancellor, Chair of the Board, Madam President, graduates and honored guests, and dear friends and family. First, let me say thank you for that wonderful citation, which also neglected to say that I was grade 1 boot monitor extraordinaire, so we should add that in for the next time. But first of all, I want to congratulate all the graduates here today. I applaud you and your achievements, and as we just did, I applaud the support that you've had from all your friends and family, because they have played a great role in your success. Congratulations also to my fellow honoree, Dr. Alfredson. Thank you for your tireless efforts both on the ice and off the ice. When I told my sons about this event, they said to me, "Mom, we are so proud that you are receiving an honorary doctorate with Daniel Alfredson." Mais c'est un grand honneur d'être recevoir un doctorat honorifique dans une institution si respectée. Et je vous assure que si quelqu'un m'a dit il y a 20 ans que je serais ici aujourd'hui, j'aurais dit qu'ils sont absolument fous. Parce que c'est vraiment extraordinaire pour moi. I always expected my life to unfold in a very conventional way. But when you come to work for a mercurial genius of a man, an entrepreneur who happens to be your dad, Izzy Asper, you never know where your life is going to take you. And I feel so blessed to have been raised by two fantastic, loving parents who believed strongly in giving back to their communities. And they set a wonderful example of how to live life. And I have to say, my own life has been immensely enriched by my community involvement as well. My volunteer work with the performing arts, including the magnificent National Arts Center, which is going to be even more magnificent next year, it's allowed me to meet some really brilliant people. And I can't imagine how boring my life would be if I hadn't gotten involved. It was an extraordinary challenge to be handed the task of creating the Canadian Museum for Human Rights, a national museum in Winnipeg, after my father, who conceived of the idea, dropped dead of a heart attack just a few months after announcing the project to the public. So my mom, two brothers, and I had a decision to make. Should we go forward with this challenging project or abandon it? Which actually would have been the sane thing to do. Because who does a startup of a museum on a challenging concept and doing it in a quiet prairie town like Winnipeg? But my dad always said, trying your best and failing is fine. Not to even try is not acceptable. So that belief is what propelled us forward. And we knew that nobody else would take up the charge, so we figured, hey, better than an okay museum today than a perfect museum never. Because we really believed in the importance of teaching how lucky we are in Canada to live in a place where our rights are respected. A place where, to quote Madam Justice Rosie Abella, all children can wear their identities freely and in peace. We need to study how easily these rights can disappear if we're not vigilant. And as a Jewish woman, I assure you, I never take my rights for granted. And it was that gratitude that inspired me to keep working many, many years to create the museum. So I learned a lot of things along the way, including if you're going to go through a lot of challenging and hard times, as you will and as you've done, it's really important to engage your self-soothing, cheerleading inner voice that reminds you to breathe, that you can only do your best, and whatever mistakes you're going to make, and you will, all you can do is learn from them and put them behind you and keep moving on. Or as Winston Churchill said, when you're going through hell, keep going. And while you do need to listen to people around you, you gotta remember you don't have a monopoly on good ideas. You also have to avoid the cavers. You can't get drowned by the cavers. The cavers are the people, the citizens against virtually everything. You've got to surround yourself with positive, energetic people who believe in contributing and not to tearing down. As I mentioned, I had the joy and also the challenge of having wonderfully supportive parents, but they told me every day, don't just take up space. Leave this world a better place than the way you found it. Stop seeking happiness. That's self-indulgent. Why don't you try to make someone else happy? That will give you joy as well. And most of all, be a lifter, not a leaner. Sometime in your life, you're going to need to lean on others, but while you can lift, you've got to lift. You've got to lend a hand and strengthen a person or an organization, and by lifting them, you get stronger. We actually know that the only way to get physically stronger is to lift more. And in fact, lifting does not weaken you, it strengthens you. And it's the same thing with community involvement. I think of when Canada said, we're going to take in 25,000 Syrian refugees. It mobilized Canadians, it mobilized neighborhoods and organizations who are ready to help and who are happy to do some lifting. And by doing this lifting, we showed as a country that we got stronger. And we showed other countries what little Canada can do. So I believe that countries can lift and they can get stronger as well. I've also been very, very lucky to have a wonderful husband to whom I've been married 32 years this Friday, who I met working at the library at the University of Manitoba. And he's been very understanding over these many years, as have my two beautiful sons. Also, the people I work with at the Asper Foundation, including the executive director, Mo Levy, they're one of the most positive and fun-loving group of people imaginable. And we went through some really dark, really sad times, but we got through it with a lot of laughter, a lot of swearing, and a lot of good red wine. So, now that you are all going out into the world, I want to remind you how lucky you are to have been able to study at this outstanding university. You owe Carleton a lot, so be a lifter when it comes to supporting your alma mater, because the universities that soar have grateful and committed alumni who give generously of their time and their money. So wherever you end up in the world, never forget what you owe. And in closing, I hope that wherever you go and whatever you do, you'll adopt a reach for the stars attitude and never aim for the middle or for mediocrity. All of you are studying in areas that can have a really good positive impact in the world, so you can really do some great good. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "If I cannot do great things, I can do small things in a great way." So I wish you all much success. Thank you again for this tremendous honor.